Hi, this is an evaluation of the Vietnamese culture versus American culture. So, Vietnamese people speak Vietnamese, which has five main dialects, which are based off of location. There's Northern Vietnamese, North Central, Mid Central, South Central, and Southern Vietnamese. And that's kind of similar to America, as you have Southern accents, Boston accents, and slang that just, is based off of how people were raised. Um, there's also six different tones to their language, which is essential because changing just a tone of a word can change the whole meaning. Also, when it comes to nonverbal communication, they prefer that over verbal communication. They believe that it's better to nonverbally communicate than to say something that could harm or impact negatively in the situation. They also avoid eye contact when it comes to speaking to someone in a higher position than them or someone their senior, which is quite different than America because typically we try to use eye contact to show that we respect the person that we are communicating with, especially when they are in a higher position or, there are elders. And so also, the religions that they practice are kind of like America, where they have different religions. They don't just have one religion that they all practice. There's Buddhism, there's Confucianism, they also have Catholic religion, and so it's somewhat similar to America, but they also do have a very different worship system where they worship their ancestors. Most of them do, and most of them have an ancestor altar at their home to practice their worship. So another thing is when it comes to punctuality, Vietnamese kind of look at time as flexible. An instant, if they are going to go to a party and the time is set to be around 5, most likely they won't show up until 6 or 7. And that's a common thing for most Vietnamese people. Unlike Americans, where a lot of times when something's set for a time, you believe that that's when it's going to happen. And when it comes to gender roles, there are some old views that they do still believe that women should be housewives, but it's also, there is modern Vietnam where women are also in leadership roles and, working rather than being a housewife and staying at home with the children. And similarly to America, there is a wage difference between men and women. Theirs is more different, as women are typically paid 13% less than men in Vietnam. And so that's something that women can share between cultures. There's actually women unions in Vietnam too that fight for more rights for the women. So there's another thing that's a little bit strange that I found, was that Vietnamese people don't like to say no. They believe that it is respectful to always agree or confirm or conform to what someone wants. So, like, if someone were to invite a Vietnamese person to a party and they didn't want to go, they wouldn't say no. They would just say yes and end up not showing up. They'd rather, save face and just agree or say yes to that person. So that's a little bit different. And typically they're quiet people. And women, they expect to be quiet. They look at women as if they're loud, they are disrespectful. So that's definitely kind of like an old view they have. But overall, those are the differences between American and Vietnamese cultures. It just seems that Vietnamese people rely more on nonverbal communication than Americans do. Um, and they also have different views of how to show respect, which can be a little bit confusing if you don't know that when meeting a Vietnamese person in a business situation and that person's not giving you eye contact. So it's definitely good to do your research and know what you're going to be dealing with when you meet Vietnamese people.